for Week 4 of the I-Formation. I'm Jeff Gibbons.
And I'm John Moist.
And John, before we go any further today, there's something I got to get off my chest, man. We watched the Monday Nighter last night, and, this whole thing about the last-minute Hail Mary winning the game for Seattle. Aaron Rodgers is all over the internet this week. Or today, I should say. He's all upset about this Hail Mary. He said that Jennings had the ball. And the league came out today and agreed with the decision. A little bit of solidarity for these referees. But at the end of the day, you said something pretty interesting. Why doesn't Jennings put the ball down through the end zone instead of trying to be the man and catch the ball?
He had no business trying to catch that ball. No business whatsoever. You bat the ball out of the end zone, the game is over. One
of the many mistakes. Rodgers is upset. He said Jennings had the ball, and it was a pretty controversial play. But come on, man. Aaron Rodgers, where were you for the other 59 and a half minutes of this football game? No thrown touchdown passes.
8 sacks.
8 sacks in the first half of this game. We got to give a little credit to this Seattle Seahawks defense, who masterfully held these guys down. No run in the first half whatsoever. Started to get the run going with Cedric Benson in the second half. But even the 2-point conversion, Rodgers is saying that they gave him a kicking ball instead of a throwing ball. You know what? I only ever played with one when we ever played out on a field, man. I'm sorry if you're getting paid too much money and you need to have a different football to throw instead of kick. And I understand that there's a lot of frustration out there. But at the end of the day, these referees now have more than they can handle. They've been put and thrust into this situation, and there's nothing that they can do about it. They're doing their best. I made a comment on the website today. I said, like Roger Goodell, if he needed brain surgery tomorrow, and we told him that the neurologists were locked out, is he going to be satisfied to listen to third-year med students and let them make all the decisions? I'm pretty sure he's going to rethink that one. Would you let the tire guy at Walmart fix your Rolls Royce if we've locked out your mechanic? I don't think you're going to do that either. The other side of that is the league is saying to take it easy on these guys. They came down hard this week and said you're not to give them a hard time. It's like that substitute teacher syndrome. You get somebody in your classroom and you're going to work this guy or girl as hard as you can to see what you can get away with. And that's what the players are doing. That's what the coaches are doing. But what's with Bill Belichick? Belichick grabs a hold of one of these guys. Even Rex Ryan, who I have really virtually no respect for with the New York Jets, he mouths something about the call on Fasano in the Jets-Miami game. But you know what? That's to be expected. He didn't grab a hold of anybody. And Bill Belichick, I wonder what would happen to one of your players if that had been one of your players that grabbed a hold. Do you really think for a minute you're going to sit there and say that that's the Patriots way? You're going to make that person sit. So what are you going to do to up the ante, Bill Belichick? I don't think that you should even be there for that next game, and I think the league should have came down hard on him. What do you think?
I think that the bottom line with all this is that somebody's going to get hurt. The referees have lost control of these games. The players are into more scuffles than they've ever been. And someone's going to get hurt because of this. They have to get the real refs back now.
That's right. And you know what? We're not trying to take a side here, but at the end of the day, you're right. There's too much money on the table. There's too many professional careers on the table. The fans everything is at stake at this point. And when we're seeing games consistently, with calls that, given the referees their due. I mean, they're coming from the high school systems, they're coming from college, they're coming from different traditions and different kinds of cultures, where these kinds of penalties, or a lot of penalties that they call, aren't called in the NFL. Or they're not for 25, 26 yards, they're for 5 or 10 yards. There's a big difference in this game. It's a lot faster. There's a lot more at stake when it comes to these kinds of things. And I think we got to understand that these referees have been put in that position. They're doing the best that they can. But it's not good enough. It's no different than me or you going in and trying to do the same thing. We can talk the talk all day long, but when we're on the field, I mean, it's become apparent. The indecision that was out there, even on the Sunday games that we watched. You're seeing things like, somebody throws a flag and you got 3 guys looking at each other saying, should we have thrown that flag? And you got players from both sides saying, you shouldn't have thrown that flag, or yes, what a great job. Pete Carroll coming out and saying, oh, I'm really glad that the league saw it our way. Well, what do you expect Pete Carroll to say? He's going to agree with the call. This is just crazy beyond belief. I'm a Dolphins fan. The Fasano catch was a drop ball. It went upstairs on review, and it still got dropped. Or, that didn't change that. That was not a catch, and it didn't get overturned. These are the kinds of things that are going to hurt. Chancellor's late defensive pass interference call on the Monday Nighter, that could have changed the tide of the game. The pass interference call on the Patriots late that brought the ball in the red zone. These are huge kinds of calls that are interfering now with the scores of the game. I remember I got my knickers in a bunch there week 1. Remember about the Bears and the Green Bay Packers, the 2 missed calls early that changed the tide of that game. That was a close game. And I remember saying those kinds of things now and saying that, I know that Cutler melted down and that should have never have happened. He could have handled that a lot differently, but the momentum swing in that game came from those 2 calls. In my eye, I think it was close to that point, and, Cutler fell apart, threw the 4 picks. Absolutely, they deserved to lose at that point. But you know what? It's the little things, the lack of control. When you see the scuffles, like you say, after the whistle, that they don't have control of. In those kinds of cases, if they're not holding control of the game, someone gets hurt, and at that point, it's too late. They're going to be blamed for that, and I think that that's what we're going to remember. Sums this all up in a nutshell. In week 1, I remember one of the few long picks I went out on, the first pick of the year, I picked Dallas to beat the Giants. And I was so proud of that pick. But I remember 2 or 3 websites that I came to the next day, because we had all that swirling about referees. And saying, well, it wasn't a regular season yet. They're getting the bugs out. Everything's going to be fine. We'll stand behind them. And then I remember looking at a couple of different sports sites the next day. The first headline was not that the Dallas Cowboys pulled an upset over the Giants. The first headline was, the referees did a good job. Well, aren't they supposed to do a good job? Like, how is that headline news? When there's that kind of uncertainty and indecision right there from the sports writers and from everything else, how can we expect to have a good quality football that has continuity in officiating? And there's just too many games decided right now on indecision and inexperience.
Are you finished?
Over and out, man. I'm sorry, but I've been holding this in for the week. I've been holding this in for weeks. And you're right. We've bit our tongue on this, and I just told you today, man, we were going to reel this. I can't go any further.
At the end of the day, the Green Bay Packers, this horrible call may cost them a first-round bye.
It could cost them the
One
season.
game in the NFL is huge.
Absolutely. And we all know that on every given day. On any given day now, we got to worry about continuity, and we got to worry about those kinds of things. So, you know what? I feel better about that now. I think we move on. Stick around. We're going to now talk about our teams from the previous week.
Hi, welcome back to the I Formation. Now that Mr. Gibbons here has taken a couple of Valium, we're going to move along to talk about last week's games and our picks from the weeks and our players of the week from last week. Jeff, who was your player of the week?
My player of the week last week, I couldn't look anywhere else, even though we're going to differ on this. Torrey Smith with the Baltimore Ravens. A truly inspirational game with 120 plus yards in the air, 2 touchdowns, all within 24 hours of losing his younger brother in the motorcycle
Great
accident.
catches that he made.
He was incredible. I think that I was just amazed by him being able to stand in there on an hour's sleep. Well, he said when he got to the field and the familiar sense of home really helped him. And he played the game of his life. So my football this week goes to Torrey Smith, and my condolences go out to his family. Your player of the week.
My player of the week is Jamal Charles. He led the Kansas City Chiefs, put them on his back, ran for 288 yards. Actually, he ran for 233, caught 55, 288 all-purpose yards, had a touchdown. And he's definitely my player of the week. He went in and put that team on his back and just...
That breakaway for the touchdown, 91 yards. Yeah. Nothing slack about that.
He's back.
I do believe I mentioned last week that he was going to break out this week, so I feel kind of good about that too. I'm taking everything I can get this week because I can smell the picks. It's been rough, but you know what? In all fairness, it's been rough for a lot of the pros out there. We saw a lot of 4 and 12s this week on the websites, and we were much better than that. Yes. You especially. Okay, my team of the week was the Baltimore Ravens, just because they beat the Patriots. Spirited game, great thing to watch. 1-pointer. You know what? Bit of a tough call there on that defensive pass interference, but you take the good with the bad. As anti-Patriots fans. We're used to the Foxborough calls of never ever going anybody else's way, so it was nice to see that sort of play the other way.
I believe you brought to my attention there earlier that Baltimore is now 7-2 against New England.
That includes the playoffs. They've owned the New England Patriots. Not something a lot of people know. They're 6-1 in regular season, 7-2, so they're 1-1 in the playoffs. And we saw what happened
Two
last
field
time.
goal games in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were both close. And you know what? That defense is just incredible. But Joe Flacco's getting the football.
Wow.
And he's throwing that ball. Well, of course, Torrey Smith made that much
Ray
easier
Rice
for him.
helped out a bit, 120 yards there.
Yeah, he had Ray Lewis sort of kept
10 tackles.
he took out the trash.
He didn't have
too.
100 like I called him for, but
He had a tenth of it, though. He was just taking it easy on you, man. He just didn't want you to look too good. Awesome. So that's our, we had a couple of other games that we wanted to talk
my
about
pick of the
today.
week was Atlanta. And,
Yes.
Atlanta, I said that they were going to go into San Diego and they were going to beat the Chargers. I said that I didn't think that the Chargers could play with them, and they couldn't. Atlanta created 4 turnovers. Anytime you turn the ball over 4 times, you're not going to win the game.
Had to recover from that for sure.
And Michael Turner had a good game on the ground as well. So
He's back to his former self.
yes.
Awesome. Okay. We're going to quickly get to our picks, and we're going to find this week that we're actually very, very similar. That probably scares the hell out of John because given the way I've been out in the clouds now for the last couple of weeks, but I'm firmly gaining my ground. I think
You're getting better.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm so glad that you got my fake confidence. Stick around. We're going to get right back to the picks. Thanks very much. Welcome back to the I Formation. Back to the picks. And like we said before, John, it's kind of scary. We're in line this week. As a matter of fact, there's only one pick that we're picking different this week, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Let's start with Cleveland at Baltimore. This is a no-brainer. I think 99% of the people in the pick pools I'm looking at now are picking Baltimore.
Yeah.
Are we surprised after beating the Patriots? Cleveland I don't think they have it. Even if Baltimore half shows up this week, I still think they have enough to beat this Cleveland team.
Cleveland went to Buffalo and run 13 rushing plays in the entire game. If you don't establish the run in this league, you're not going to win. It's ridiculous coaching. Pat Shermer wouldn't set a kitchen table. It's pitiful. We go to Minnesota at Detroit.
Yeah, and I'm looking for Calvin Johnson to have a big game at home against this Minnesota team who has shown up and that hasn't shown up. I don't know, a very, very uneasy feeling about this.
Mm-hmm.
Ponder is not a bad quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be able to handle all the armaments that are going to be thrown at him in Detroit. It's not going to happen.
Stafford has a big game.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And Detroit wins.
We got New England and Buffalo this week.
I can't see Buffalo beating them.
I can't either, especially with Spiller out of the lineup. I think, looking at that defense may give Brady some problems. I think, with similar to, I don't know if Arizona had that snap count, what they were getting there, but they were getting to him on the outsides. And we've talked about that before over the years. I think Buffalo can be successful in slowing that game down, but when it comes right down to it, Fitz is a good quarterback. And he's got some good offensive weapons there, but I just don't think you can win this game. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You're up against Brady and Welker and these guys. I don't see it. You can't win that match.
No, big game for Brady for sure there, unfortunately. Next we have San Francisco at the Jets.
Yeah, and I think San Francisco bounces back here and exposes the New York Jets for what they are.
They lost to Darrelle Revis.
And Revis, just in the news today, and remember we're recording a few days before game time. Revis is looking for a second opinion. I don't think he's getting one. Remember, Steve Young got 9 second opinions about his concussions.
A second opinion on a torn ACL?
He's a pretty tough guy. I'm not a big fan of Revis for his mouth and stuff like that, but one thing's for sure, he's not a sook.
He's the best player on that team.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I still think that San Fran beats them at home.
So do I.
Carolina now is in Atlanta.
I can't see. I think it might be a high-scoring game. Might see Cam Newton show up, run a little bit here, and but Atlanta is just too powerful. They're going to go to 4-0. They're one of the best teams in the NFL right now, if not the best. They have Tony Gonzalez had a big game the other day. Look for him to have another one this week, and Roddy White as well. Matt Ryan in the dome.
We all know how that goes, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. San Diego now is in Arrowhead to face the Chiefs.
I like the Chiefs, sir.
I do too. That should scare you because I haven't been right about the Chiefs all year. But we saw them turn a corner last week. Charles had a huge game.
He did.
And I think they need to keep establishing this run. I think they have offensive weapons in wide receivers. We have Dwayne Bowe. I think that that team can be a force, and I think that they can even their series.
If that team put everything together and used all the talent that they have, they could actually make a playoff run.
I still think that they're a contender. I just hope that they go to 2-2.
I don't see them making the playoffs. But
this is a huge game for them. They need to go 500. They really do. Seattle is in St. Louis.
This is going to be a close game. The Rams and the Seahawks both have great defenses. It's going to be low scoring. I see Seattle coming out on top in the end strictly because I think they're a better team overall.
They look great defensively this week against Green
Bay. Rodgers 8 times.
They shut the door on Rodgers, and even the rookie. I can't think of the guy's name now, but in that defensive line, he was penetrating that offensive line. He had a couple of sacks himself in that game. I wish I could think of the guy's name. That happens sometimes, but that's me in the rant. See, still trying to get my heart rate down. Seattle, remember me talking about that tandem of Golden Tate and Sidney Rice. Tate is back, and let me tell you, he was a huge force this week against Green Bay. He
didn't catch the ball, though.
No, he didn't. He caught a few other ones, though, that were undisputed. So look for that. And you know what? That creates that coverage scenario that I think that Sidney Rice thrives on, too. So
this game could go either way.
Okay.
Could go either way.
Still going Seattle.
I'll go Seattle as well. Mm-hmm. Tennessee is in Houston to play the Texans, who I believe right now are probably the best team in the NFL. Defensively, they're amazing, and they play together as a unit. Matt Schaub, I believe he took a shot to the head this week and lost a piece of his ear, and he missed about 2 minutes after that.
Tough as
Very
nails.
Tough. Yeah.
And of course we've got Arian Foster.
Houston at home.
It's a lock.
Yeah.
I think so.
Tennessee
Chris Johnson may run the ball a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be a factor. I think that Schaub will get the job done.
Another big game for Arian Foster.
Yep. Denver's at home to Oakland.
Always a good game, divisional rivalry. Oakland, Denver always play. Field goal games, really. I think Manning is due for a big game now. And I think you got Eric Decker is probably going to have one as well. Not sure on the status of Willis McGahee on the ground. He's questionable right now. They got no Sean Marino as a backup. He can get the job done. I see Denver here probably by 6 points.
I think so too. I think Manning controls the clock, and I think that just like Miami did against Oakland, I think that Denver defense is going to be helped a lot by the fact that Manning wears the clock down, ground and pound, and controls the field. Mm-hmm. Miami is in Arizona. Yeah,
tough one.
We both looked at this one really tough, and it's hard for me to lead with the head and not the heart. After seeing them lose a heartbreaker this week to the Jets, but Arizona handled the Patriots, right? And that team just seems to be getting better and better. Good to see Kevin Kolb stepping up.
They terrorized Mike Vick.
They did.
Absolutely terrorized.
They did.
And Arizona, I think what the difference is going to be here, I think Miami played a great game against the Jets. I think they probably should have won that game. They missed a late field goal there. That probably would have put them over the top. Arizona, the difference here is that Arizona, at 3-0, now expects to win these games. And when you go into a game expecting to win it, and you got that confidence, then you play a lot better. And I think that they're going to come out on top.
Unless somebody throws a Hail Mary into the end zone at the end of time,
yeah.
There's a struggle. Yeah. But I think they'll be smart enough to bat the ball through. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
Cincinnati at Jacksonville is next.
I think the Bengals are a team that are misunderstood this year. I still think that they can go into Jacksonville with everything going on and win the game. I think they can win it. I'm not convinced that it's a blowout. I'm not convinced that any game involving the Bengals is a blowout this year. They've had leads and they've let them get away. I hope that they can hang on here. They're a team that are sort of on the cusp in being a playoff contender. They're going to have to show that they can handle themselves and they can sort of close the gate, but they haven't showed me that this year. But I still think they're going to win in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville has an above-average defense, but since he just has more weapons, you got A.J. Green in the air who had 183 yards this past week. He's a force to be reckoned with, and I think Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis on the ground will probably have a good game here as well.
Hopefully so.
I think Cincy is going to win this game handily, 10 points.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Next, we got New Orleans visiting Lambeau.
Blowout.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I don't care what Drew Brees is packing heat, or what heat he's packing. I think that Green Bay regroups. They're at home. I think Aaron Rodgers has got something to prove. I think you're right. They handle these guys. I think they shut the door.
You thought it was bad for the Saints now. I believe they just had an injury to David Hawthorne, which is a linebacker there, and one of their best, three straight years with 100-plus tackles. And if he does play, it's questionable right now. If he does play, he's going to be playing on a bad hamstring, and not good for a linebacker. And that's going to create another hole. I think Green Bay is going to pick my pairs.
I think so too. Something to prove. Rodgers still say pound for pound is the best quarterback in the National Football League.
No argument.
Oh. Washington is in Tampa Bay. Now this is the one we don't agree on. I really had to think long and hard about this. I'm sorry. There is that thing, that phenomena, that is RG3. And you know what? Lost Arakpo. The defense has really taken a couple of key hits for season-ending injuries. But I still think that they're a team that can throw a lot of points up on the board. And they've shown it. I mean, Griffin is only going to get better. If this guy can win you a game, he can steal you a game. I think that they go into Tampa Bay and they win this close.
It's definitely going to be a close game. I was this between Washington and Tampa Bay. I struggled with this one, didn't know which way it was going to go. In the end, Tampa Bay is a much better team at home. And I think Doug Martin will have a big game on the ground. And I think Tampa Bay by a field goal in the end.
We're looking forward to that one.
Great game.
Next, we got the Giants in Philadelphia.
I like the Giants for sure.
I did too. We didn't bat an eyelash at this pick either. After seeing Michael Vick last week, that Giants team is getting better and better. And, defensively, they've shored up. I think, and lots of offensive threats as well.
The offensive line for the Eagles is in disarray. Michael Vick is running around like a chicken with his head cut off. He has no pocket awareness. He has no one protecting him on the blind side. And I think that Jason Pierre-Paul is going to get at him this week.
I was trying not to steal your thunder.
I would not be surprised if Michael Vick doesn't make it through this game, actually.
Going out on a limb.
Yeah.
And the game of the week, or the Monday Nighter, Chicago's in Dallas. And we agree on this.
We do.
We're both picking a team that begins with C.
Ends with no.
And in the middle
It's
is
Hickok.
Bears.
The Bears.
Bears going to 3-1. And you know what? I'm loving what I'm seeing. They had a huge defensive win this week. Still without Matt Forte, and what I'm hearing early in the reports this week, he's probably not going to play. We've got Bush.
Michael Bush is just as good. He is a beast. He, like I said last week, when McFadden went out for Oakland last year, Michael Bush filled in admirably then, and now with Forte out, he's doing the same thing in Chicago. And I think that when it comes down to it, Dallas actually right now is the #1 ranked defense in the NFL.
Yeah. It'll be interesting how to see they handle Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall is going to be handled by Brandon Carr. I think the Bears are going to win this game on the ground. I think it's going to be a close one.
I hope Bush has a big game.
Yeah.
Chicago, anyway. So there you have it, folks. All but one this week. So that should scare the hell out of John, because the last couple of weeks you've been picking pretty conservative, and of course you will come out on the right end of that. So this week, hopefully, we start to surge up the charts and start to move forward. Stick around. We're going to give you our final thoughts. Welcome back to the Man Room for our final thoughts for Week 4 of the NFL. My team of the week this week, the Chicago Bears. We just finished talking about them going into Dallas, and we both agree they're going to win. I think it's going to be a relentless defensive effort, just like it was in Week 3. I think they give Romo all kinds of trouble, and the Bears have one of the best defensive systems for turning turnovers into points, and I think that's going to be a huge part of their game strategy this week. Who do you like this week?
New York Giants, they're at the top of their game right now. Eli Manning is at the top of his game for sure. I think Victor Cruz is going to have a big game in this one. I think Philadelphia is in trouble on their offensive line. And I think that might as well throw my player in the week in there as well. Jason Pierre-Paul is my player of the week. and he's going to give Michael Vick fits. And who's your player of the week?
My player of the week is going to be Calvin Johnson with Detroit. I think he has a huge week this week against the Minnesota Vikings. They're going to be hard to stop. So hopefully he turns a corner as well. Mm-hmm. So there you have it, folks. There's our picks for the week. There's our commentary for the week, and thank you for affording me that big rant at the beginning.
I enjoyed that.
Actually, not half as much as I did, but hopefully now we see some movement in that during the week. And stay with us next week. Make sure that you come back and see how we did, and we'll just be ready to update you with all the other great stuff that happens during week 4. So from the Man Room, it's good night for me.
Have fun.